Welcome to this week's video where I'm going to share wisdom from 25 plus years of life in the health and fitness industry. This coming from a customer perspective, it is just wisdom that I have learned that you can only really learn after a really long time on a health journey. And it's what I share with my clients that really helps them accelerate their results, because instead of going around in circles like we tend to do, they're able to move forward in leaps and bounds because they understand what works and what isn't going to work and what is actually most important. So stick around if you want to learn more about that, as I'm going to share 10 pieces of wisdom with you. Just noticed we have Marley, my cat. She loves to be in the camera, so we're just going to let her stay for now. So the first tip that I have for you is that emotional regulation should be your #1 priority. This starts in the mind, but it stems from the body. So everything that we go through in life is stored in the body. Some of it we're not really aware of, some of it we have vague memories of, some of it we are hyper aware of, but just know that things are stored in the body and they stem up into the mind where we try and make sense of them. And these things also come up from time to time when triggered or when ready to be healed. So in a health journey, the goal is actually to be really healthy, happy, and whole. It's not about being skinny. It's not about having a perfect diet. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about being really centered within ourselves and really happy with the life that we're living. And this involves some downs and some ups. And the whole point of emotional regulation is to build a body and mind that can handle the waving ups and downs of life. And weight training is very beneficial for this, as it helps to increase our window of tolerance and our resilience within our nervous system. Diet is fantastic for this because poor food choices can actually be a trigger. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the more resilient you are emotionally, the more chance you have of your results sticking and the more progress you're going to make overall and the less back steps you're going to make. So for me personally, before I even got into the body game, the whole reason for it was that I had depression, anxiety, and body image issues. So I was trying to find a solution for those issues within the fitness industry within changing my body. And I see this in clients time and time again. It's a very common path to go down. But ultimately, had I known this, had I had the resources available to me at the time, I would have gone for the emotional regulation first and just used the fitness and the nutrition as a way to actually create a strong container for which to manage my emotions through. Because having a strong body and a healthy body makes it actually much easier to process emotions as you heal them and as they come up. So yeah, if you find that emotional regulation is a problem for you, you feel unstable, or you've got depression, anxiety, self-esteem issues, things like this, then this should be the #1 thing that you focus on, and that is why I've put it first. So what it looks like is learning to feel into the body, learning to connect with your body, asking questions around your uncomfortable emotions, seeking support if you need it from a psychologist or a counselor or a psychotherapist, something like that, and just taking time out to review your life choices. So people you hang out with, the job you have, all of these things, are they making you happy, or are they adding toxicity and unhappiness to your life, or are they triggering you? Working through these things one by one will help you get much closer to your goals, and it'll also help you feel regulated and happy and whole in the long term, regardless of anything else that you do. So the second lesson I wanted to share with you is that it is a process. Change does not happen overnight. If we want to go from point A all the way to point Z, we need to understand that this is a quantum leap. There's a lot of steps in the middle, like all those other letters of the alphabet, and we want to work through every single step of those one at a time. So one way you can make transformation is to pick just a tiny little habit, transform that, move on to another tiny habit. You can do it that way, or you can set a much bigger goal and just understand there will be more slip-ups, but this does not mean you're not going to get there. So what you want to consider is the fact that the reason why maybe you don't have the habits that you would like to have in the first place is because you've developed these habits as a coping mechanism for something. And if you think of yourself as like an onion, and right in the middle of there is your most whole, healthy, and happy expression, that's where you're trying to get to. But in order to get there, you have to peel back each layer, and each layer is going to have its own story, maybe its own behavior, maybe its own memory, maybe its own challenges. And every time that happens, you want to face that with curiosity, not judgment, and work through it. And also understand that as you do want to change, you're doing 2 things. So first of all, you're setting an intention which then triggers the universe to send back to you what it is that you need to see and learn in order to achieve that goal. And secondly, you're actually creating more safety in the body, because if you do something like move more, eat more healthy, or start a new skill or something like that, that makes you feel really good inside, it's something that's really important to you, then in that safety, often things will come up for you to address them. So that is not uncommon. It happens all the time. Trick is to not judge yourself and just have the discipline to jump back on the wagon and just keep on going. So understand that nobody ever achieved anything fantastic without a setback. It's not possible. You know, I've had a million in my life, right? So this is totally part of the process, and it is an absolutely important lesson to learn. The third tip I have for you is that we all have different genetic capabilities. This one is so important. We don't all have the same potential. We don't have the same potential to get lean. We don't have the same potential to eat lots of food. We don't have the same potential to digest carbohydrates. We don't have the same potential to put on muscle. We don't have the same body shape, even if we do manage to lose all of the body fat. You know, I don't have a really good body shape for bodybuilding. It's not a good structural shape, so I've probably got zero chance of ever winning a show. But can I get lean? Yeah, to a degree. Not super lean, but I also can't have a tiny waist and wide shoulders because that's just not my structure. And the same thing goes for all my clients. You know, it's always a tricky thing because they get inspired by what they see on Instagram, and what you see on Instagram is what we call the genetic elite. So these are people that have like large glutes, tiny little waists and rib cages, and really broad shoulders. And when you build muscle on these structures, and they also have a really strong genetic capacity to get lean all over the whole body and to digest carbohydrates and all of this, and that is a unique combination of genetic factors that makes that person competitive in that sport and that makes that person stand out to you. So let's just say that that is your inspiration and that is your goal and that's where you're headed towards. It's important to know that that actually might not be possible for you, and it's not possible for most people, but you can achieve, however, a fantastic physique and do really well and love the process and learn so much and grow so much. You just might not end up looking like that person because you can't choose that. You know, genetics came from your mom and your dad, and basically it ends there. Like, you can optimize your genetics as best as you can. Like if you have really great fat storing genetics like I do, I stay away from junk food because I know I'm going to be really overweight if I eat lots of junk food. It's unfair, it's annoying, I wish I could eat more, but I can't. And a lot of my clients are the same. So I have some that get away with cheat meals and they slip up a lot and they still look fantastic. I've got some clients who eat 2,700 calories a day. One's on 2,900 calories a day and she's not putting on fat, she's just putting on muscle. Then I have other clients that try and get up to 1,800 calories a day and they start putting on weight, you know? So there's a difference there. And in that particular example, the one who's eating less and putting on weight more easily has way more experience in the gym than the other one. So, you know, we're all really different. It's really important to educate yourself around how your body could be, but never use your genetics as an excuse, because we all have the potential to be leaner and healthier and feel good. Nobody has genetics that deny them of that capability. It's just that for some individuals, it's a little more difficult. My fourth tip is that nutrition is the #1 environmental variable that you can control in a sea of toxicity. If you don't eat well, or you don't want to eat well, then realistically, you have no chance of being healthy, happy, or whole. It's actually not going to be possible for you. And if you're really young and it's working for you now, it only works for you for a certain amount of time, but eventually the body has had enough, it gets toxic overload, and you start to have problems with all those kinds of foods. So the body is impacted by the environment every day. And yes, we have detoxification mechanisms in the body to support that. There are a lot of gene mutations, or say in the case of complex trauma, or if you're under a lot of stress, these things are actually hindered and you may not detoxify well at all. You might even find that if you do a detox, you end up passing out, having a migraine, feeling depressed because your body actually can't do it. So yes, you have the organs to detoxify environmental toxins, but most of us are already full. The body can't do any more than it's already doing. So if you're really overweight, that means you probably have really poor detoxification pathways. If you get chronic headaches, you probably have that problem. If you have eczema, if you have like brain fog, all of these things indicate that you're probably a little bit toxic. And if you think about it, nutrition is the #1 thing that you can control. So you can get a healthy diet, and that means that what goes in your mouth 5 or 6 or 7 or maybe 20 times a day if you're a snacker is actually not going to add any more toxic load. So people find that just by changing their diet, it makes like at least a 70% improvement in their well-being, because there's not a non-stop onslaught of toxic food. And keep in mind, I'm not talking about dairy or grains or fruit or, dark chocolate. I'm talking about seed oils, refined sugar, refined flour like white breads and stuff, and pesticide really. So you could probably throw corn in there too, and trans fats. So those are the kind of thing that you would avoid. Eating anything that's derived from Mother Nature probably won't cause you too many problems. It absolutely will not make you toxic. So health starts in the kitchen. My fifth tip for you is that weight training has a positive carryover effect into all aspects of your life. It improves bone density, protects against injury, increases cardiovascular health, mental health, improves strength levels, creates independence, improves sports performance, hormone function, nutrient uptake. You can store more carbohydrate and eat more carbohydrate, and it improves your resilience. So it helps the body adapt to fluctuating nervous system frequencies, if you want to call it like that. So if you're a little bit stressed or a little bit depressed, it really helps the body to regulate itself within those emotional states, because they are fueled by the nervous system and they impact the nervous system. So it's a bit of a cycle, and weight training really helps you to build a really strong container that you can do things like process your emotions, start a healthy diet, and all of those things. And also it massively improves self-confidence. And I have a sneaky suspicion that the reason for that is because of the improved nervous system resilience. So the sixth tip that I have for you is that being lean will not make you happy. I talk about this one all the time because it is crucial. It's something that so many of my clients go through, and I have gone through it myself. I competed first when I was in 2010, and I had dreamed of doing a comp for 10 years by that point, thinking about all the amazing things that were going to happen for me when I made it. I was going to be amazing, I was going to be fast, I was going to be the healthiest I've ever been, I was going to love myself, I was going to be confident. It didn't happen. All that happened is I noticed more flaws. And not only that, I was exhausted because I wasn't eating anything. I'd been dieting for 9 months, and I was missing pretty much every single health food that I was banned from eating on my clean health diet. I competed again 2 years later, a little bit better because I had a flexible dieting approach, but I was still unhappy with my body at the end. And then I competed again last year, but knowing it wasn't going to make me happy. I just wanted the challenge, just wanted to jump on that stage again. And there was a comp I was particularly inspired to do because it was really creative and couture. So I really wanted to do that, got cancelled because of what, and I ended up doing a local show that I didn't want to do. But loved the whole process, but being lean didn't make me happier. Then this whole thing where, and even as that example, there was a point maybe say 5 months out where I had abs and I could see all my muscle mass, and I was really small, like a size 8, and I was so excited, and I was like, I'm going to stay like this. This is the best I've ever felt. I'm lean, I'm fast, I'm healthy, I'm vibrant, I'm excited, and all of these good things. But I have to also weigh up the fact that I was doing weight training 6 days a week. I was eating about 1,600 calories, no cheat meals, no dairy, no white food, no homemade treats. I was walking every day, and I had little time to work on my business, and I didn't really feel that vibrant. So, I had to make that decision that I would actually rather be a bit heavier because that lifestyle suits me better. And I had to let go of the abdominals for that. So, being lean doesn't make you happy. Eating healthily makes you happy. So that is my tip number 6. The 7th lesson that I have for you is that it is important to identify the kind of lifestyle that you want to live and the way that you want to look aesthetically. The reason for this particular point is because so many people get caught up in wanting a certain body, but the lifestyle that they would have to lead in order to have that body is actually not something they're interested in doing. So even if they do maintain that body at the end of the process, they're not going to stay there, and then they feel really disappointed that they've lost all of their hard work. So just understand that an extreme body composition, like somebody with abs and this kind of thing, they live in a certain way that maintains that body. So you want to work on body acceptance. So this can be a little bit tricky. Maybe you need therapy or something like that to actually get to this place, or maybe you just have to actually unfollow a whole bunch of really unhealthy role models on social media, people that do have the time and space to live the lifestyle is required for this perfect body. Sometimes you need to move away from this type of content just so that you can get more in touch with what's realistic for you, and also the fact, as per the last point, that being lean doesn't make you happy anyway. So weigh up how you want to look, weigh up how you want to live, and then kind of find that happy medium there. And absolutely, no matter what is going on, no matter which way you do choose to live, make sure you work on loving your body for what it is, which is a really strong, beautiful container for you to live this feminine existence in. Now we have lesson number 8, and that is that community is essential. You need to have safe people in your corner. You're not an island, you can't make it on your own, and it's really hard to change if you don't. So I see it all the time. People that don't really have the best friendships or relationships or even family members as far as support is concerned. And they throw themselves into this lifestyle change and they're so keen and every part of them wants this more than anything. But the first thing that happens is they get pushback from all the people that in their life. So then they find they have this massive battle where they feel like they either have to lose their friends to change the lifestyle, or they have to battle it out with their boyfriend, or they have to justify their decision to their parents. Because always remember that when you make a change, you actually make other people who don't want to make the same change, if they also should be doing that, uncomfortable. So safe people who love you, who support you unconditionally, this is really important. And if you're not really sure how to spot what a safe person or a really good community is, it is someone who encourages you, it is someone who is honest to you, someone who supports you, gives you positive feedback, highlights all the things that are going really well in your journey, highlights the things they notice about you that have changed. They don't get in your way. They don't criticize your process or your goals. Yes, they might bring it up out of concern. This does happen. Usually this is out of love. Kind of when you guys have that discussion, and then that's where the communication piece comes in, which helps you build that strong community, which helps you on the path in the long term. So they're not there to criticize, to shake their head, to give you negative feedback, or try and steer you off course. They're just there to support you. They've got your back, and it feels safe. It feels good to be in communication with these people when you're trying to change your life for the better. Okay, so that is community. So community is essential. The 9th lesson that I have for you, we only have 2 more to go, that's safety is key. Safety is where you are in a position where you can be 150% yourself without judgment, without ridicule, and without feeling like you have to hide. Safety feels different in your nervous system than unsafety, but some of us, like myself, I only knew this year what safety was. I'd never experienced it before, never been around somebody who asked me what was important to me, not in a way where I really felt that they cared, you know. So now I can recognize that I've definitely got safe friendships that were already there, but I didn't feel inherently safe in my body. So now that I feel safe in my body, it is really obvious to identify who and when I'm not safe around and who and when I am safe. And this is a crucial thing to learn. And sometimes you actually have to get a therapist, this is what I did, to show you what safety looks like, because they are trained to provide a safe container for you. If they do not, you would then have to run. No, bad therapist, but maybe you need to start there and build on it. If you already have safety in your life, like you already feel loved, held and protected, then this tip is not for you. Your main job is just to maintain that safety. And just keep in mind, if you have a body recomposition goal, then safety is so important, because it means that stress levels will be low, and the lower your stress levels, the better your results, and the easier they will stick around if you have a safe container around you as you pursue that goal. The number 10, the last thing I have to share with you, is that understand your goals and your priority and your body shape are going to change throughout your lifetime. So as I mentioned in the video, this is a 25-year journey. It's actually 26 years, because I started dieting and exercising to change my body composition when I was 13 years old. Not a healthy thing to do, but it's just what I did. I've been through so many phases since then. Like I started off running all the time, trying to eat a no-fat diet. So, you know, I did a bag of lollies because it had no fat in it, because at that point we were told that it's fat that makes you fat. Then I went on like a no-carb diet, and then I got into bike riding, so I wore all the cartilage away on my knees. Then I got into weight training, so I got as lean as possible. I actually followed meal plans and never went off these meal plans. Got super lean, did it again, and then once I worked out that being skinny wasn't the answer, I jumped into powerlifting, thinking, well, I'll just get really strong and that's going to solve all of my problems. And that didn't. I really just fried my nervous system. Then I went on to strongman, thinking, cool, bit of variety would be really good. And then I got chronic fatigue syndrome. So while that happened, I had to walk, you know, and all of these things, like when I was younger, it was easier to stay leaner than it is now. This is a natural part of being older. I'm nearly 40 years old. And so I have to accept the fact now that my body is actually not going to be as lean, and it's not going to stay leaner as effortlessly as it did before. So I can put in 5 times the effort and get half the result. Okay, so things are going to shift and change as you get older. Your priorities are going to change. But all the things that you did in the past ultimately lead you to the most amazing future. So long as you're trying to grow and you're trying to learn, there are no missteps, no backsteps, no wrong choices. So always keep that in mind. So I see it really often in the bodybuilding world. Someone will post a picture of their comp and say something like, what an idiot that I thought this would be making me happy, and look how perfect my life is now. You're not an idiot. You know, you just thought that being lean would make you happy, thought the bodybuilding lifestyle was the answer, and it wasn't. And that's amazing, because now you can actually move on from that and be slightly higher in body fat and eat a more flexible diet. And you know now in your mind that you actually weren't happier like that. So there goes that dysfunctional idea. And now you can start bringing in some more healthy ideas. And then these people tend to go on to do things like CrossFit or just strength training, or they might even end up doing reformer Pilates or dance or something like that. And they stop worrying about what their body looks like. So yeah, your priority's going to change throughout life. It's totally fine. Just embrace it. You know, don't feel like you have to hang on to something that's no longer needed for you. And so go with the flow of life. Don't fight it. Everything happens for a reason, and you'll find your way over time. That's all I have for you this week. The 10 lessons from my 25+ year fitness journey. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or feedback, please leave it in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know any ideas for videos in the future. See you next week.